So this is another real world context question, a very realistic one. So 100 workers will take 360 days to build a factory. And then 20 workers left after 120 days. And I'm left with 80 workers. So now I got lesser workers. So apparently they will take some time, maybe a little bit more to finish off the job. Okay, so this one is a bit difficult. So do we still set up an equation? Yes, we will still set up the equation. So I will still be setting up my equation as X represent the worker, days will represent by Y. Okay, so you still do the same setup. X represent workers, Y represent days. So what kind of relationship is X and Y, the workers and days? So you think about it, if you got more workers to build the same factory, you will take fewer days. So more workers, you will get fewer days. So X and Y are inverse relation. Okay, so you can mention this X and Y are inversely related, or you can simply just mention this. But you need to tell me what's your X, you need to tell me what's your Y, and you can mention that X and Y are inversely related. Then you come out with the equation. So after you come out with the equation, okay, getting the K is quite easy. You just put in the current value. You just put in the current value, it can help you to find the value of K. So that is your value of K, all right? So put it into the equation and you will realize that this is your value of K. And then you've got a nice equation. Okay, even though the number look a little bit big, but doesn't matter. So of course, alternatively, you can write it in this way. So it doesn't matter, you will still get the same equation. So this equation is meant for the workers. Okay, so now, okay, after 20 workers left, okay, I'm left with 80 workers. Okay, so what is the critical thing? If there is only 80 workers, that means, right, X is equal to 80. So if you have put it into the equation, okay, I think I got to rewrite the equation there. So just now, I think the equation was xy equal to k, and we managed to find our k. And we got the main equation. Okay, so we stop somewhere there. So we will use this equation to find out what happened when you are left with 80 workers. So when you're left with 80 workers, that means X is equal to 80. So just now our X is the number of workers, days is the Y. So put into the equation. Put into the equation, you will get a nice number. This one is the number of days. So by right, when you only got 80 workers, you will take 450 days. Okay, so that here comes a trick. So when you initially have the equation is meant for a full factory. This equation is meant to build a full factory. Okay, so XY times 36,000. That is the equation for a full factory. But actually, they have already been working for 120 days. So you got to logic up. After working for 120 days, So the 100 workers, right, has been working for 120 days. Okay, I think I rewrite properly. So the 100 workers work for 120 days. They already completed some amount of the fraction. Correct or not? Think about it. They must have done something about the factory in these 120 days. So what is the fraction? The fraction is 1/3. So 1/3 of the fraction has already been completed. So even though I'm left with 80 workers, and they actually supposed to take 450 days for a full factory. But right now, they don't have a full factory to work. So the 80 worker doesn't have full factory to work. So in fact, right, the 80 workers only got 2/3 of the factory. So they don't need to work a full 450 days. They just need to work 2/3 of the 450 days. So they just need to work 300 days to complete the factory. So the final answer is 300 days. So the equation that you found just now is meant for a full factory. So yes, for a full factory, if I'm only left with 80 workers, that means maybe before the start of building the factory, 20 decide to call it quit. You're left with 80. Then in that case, right, the job will be delayed and you will take 450 days for a full factory. But the fact is these 20 workers left after 120 days. So during the 120 days, right, some part of the factory has already been completed. So how much of the factory has been completed? So it will take 360 days for a full factory. That means 120 days, they will have complete 1/3. 1/3 of the factory is completed. So the remaining 80 workers only got 2/3 of the factory to complete. That's why they will not need the 450 days. They will just need 2/3 of the 450 days, which is 300 days. So that is one of the more tricky questions. So this one can be done by some primary school method, which I usually don't show. So this is the equation method. So just bear in mind the equation that you found is meant for a full factory. When you don't have a full factory, that means you don't need so many days.